draft nerds out there. My name is Draft Raw, and thank you for tuning in to In the Clutch. Welcome back again. Once again, this is In the Clutch, and I'm Draft Raw. And in this video, we're going to talk about the top wide receiver prospects of the 2021 draft. So let's just get right into it. Now, we all know who are the top three guys. That's been pushed out there so many times. You could pretty much, if you look at ESPN, NFL Network, if you're watching YouTube, you watch the PFF guys, or you watch Chris Sims, or you watch just any people or any type of network or program that does the NFL draft, then you know who the top three guys are. That is Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle, and of course JaMarr Chase. Now, I'm not going to go deep into any of those three because those programs and networks talk about them enough. So we're just going to leave that there. I will say this. I do like JaMarr Chase as the top guy. And after him, I like Jalen Waddle. And Devontae Smith, I'm going to just say this. Devontae Smith is only in my top 5 because of consensus and necessity. The simple fact is that he's the top 5 in pretty much every single body or top 3 in every single network or person's ranking. But the way that I look at it, Devontae Smith, there's some things that I'm not a huge fan of. I think he's a good route runner. I think he has solid hands, stuff like that. But there was a lot of creativity with the Alabama offense. And with Jalen Waddle, I saw a lot more him make the plays. With Devontae Smith, I saw a lot more of the system made the plays for him. I like receivers that make the plays themselves, so I'm going to just put that right there. But anyway, to get into some of these wide receivers, I'm not going to pretty much rank them. I'm going to just kind of go down the list of the guys that I had listed on this paper. They're not a ranking, so be calm. They're not a ranking. These are just guys that I think are the better ones, or the guys that have been talked about pretty much a good amount of times, and I just want to talk about them. So let's just get into it. Rondale Moore, wide receiver, Purdue. He's small, he's tough, quickness is amazing. One of the most effortlessly quick guys that you will see in college football. Gadget type of receiver, and is a great yard after catch type of receiver with his speed, once again, his quickness and his toughness. And his hands are okay, but he's more of a body catcher. I don't really knock a bunch of guys for being body catchers. And the reason is because some of the best wide receivers were kind of body catchers a lot of times. T.O. was better when he caught with his body. Randy Moss kind of was. If we look at some other guys like Derek Mason, who was considered to have some of the best hands in the NFL, was a body catcher. Antonio Brown, who at one point for about a good 6 years was the number 1 wide receiver in the NFL. He's a body catcher. Body catchers are not, it's not that much a deterrent of a receiver. You rather for them to catch the ball with their hands a lot. But there's certain situations where you can catch the ball with your body and you will be okay. There's certain situations you have to catch the ball with your hands, like during on the sideline, jumping up for the football and trying to snatch that as highest point. That's something that, you have to do. Rondale Moore has shown that he can do that. It's just that in a lot of situations, he's a body catcher. And it has a lot to do with him being so quick and fast that he's able to get open, so quickly that he doesn't have to be that hands catcher type of guy. He can just catch with his body, and as he's catching with his body, he can keep on running and pretty much go into the end zone. So I really do like Rondale Moore. He's a really solid receiver. Next guy is Elijah Moore. I wasn't the biggest fan of Elijah Moore. He was a slot guy, and I'm not big on slot guys, but slot guys do help. If you don't know what a slot guy is, it's basically the third receiver that plays on the inside. They're never playing on the outside near the out-of-bounds marker. They're always between the offensive line and either another receiver or a tight end or something like that, whichever way how the offense is being constructed. But they're always usually the third receiver. His biggest thing that I didn't like about him was he could not handle the press. Every time a corner would be in press coverage, he couldn't get off. And that's something that in the NFL, guys are going to press you. And if they know that you can be pressed at the line and you can't make plays by being pressed at the line like that, you can't get off the press, then you're just going to be destroyed every single play. And coaches are going to look at that and say, you know what? Well, if you can't do that, then you got to get off the field. So it is what it is. Next guy we're going to talk about is Tutu Atwell, wide receiver from Louisville. Now, there's a kind of a level scaling, ranking type of situation where you have some network or people that are really high on him and then others that are really low on him. It's never really the same. It's always up and down with him. I can say that when I watched him, I actually was more on the side of him being a little bit higher. I was a little bit more impressed, and I can understand why people are high on him, but I also can understand why people are low on him. If I look at my notes, he's super small, and that's probably the biggest thing why people are low on him. He's fast, quick twitch. Everybody knows that. He's good in the slot. Most of the time, you do see him in the slot. That doesn't mean he can't play on the outside. It's just you see him in the slot a lot. He is a hands catcher, which is the reason why I think a lot of teams are high on him. But at the same time, he will drop the occasional easy pass, which is why a lot of networks and people are low on him. So I see why there's a big range of where to put Tutu Atwell within wide receiver rankings or anything like that. But I can tell you this. He's a solid receiver that can make a good slot receiver for any team that drafts him. And I think he could actually make an immediate impact on a team as a rookie. That's how good I think he can be in the league. Will he be one of the best receivers in the league? No. But he has a role carved out for him in the NFL that we've seen plenty and plenty of times. Next receiver I'm going to talk about is Dyami Brown, or Dyami Brown. I forgot exactly the way he wants it pronounced, but whatever. You know what I'm talking about. Dyami Brown from North Carolina. Solid route runner, willing blocker, okay, but not great hands, can drop some easy passes, has speed to make big plays, but he can get pressed at the line. He can beat press. Not get press. He can beat press. Looking at somebody else's. This is a guy that I actually heard, and if you watched his tape, or when I just watched his tape, there was a lot of big plays that he made, a lot of go routes. I heard that the offense was actually catered to him being a deep threat receiver more than anything. So it's not the idea of that he can't run routes, because like I said, he is a solid route runner. You can see that. Or he can't be another type of receiver but a deep threat. It's just that what the North Carolina offense catered to, which it was a great offense because they scored a lot of points, but what they catered to when it came to him made him just a deep threat guy. But I can tell you that he's one of those guys that can actually possibly turn out to be a better receiver than he was in college when he gets to the NFL, especially when he gets that good coaching. Next guy we're going to talk on the list is Marvin Williams from UCF. Big, tough, physical. There was plays where they threw him a screen route and they just needed like 4 yards, and he would catch it and he would bowl guys over. Corners couldn't tackle him. Safeties couldn't get him down. Shoot, even linebackers, it was hard to get him down. But he made sure that he always got the first down. And that's what makes him a tough receiver, like I said. Very deceptive speed. I think that he was faster than what people would think he is. He's a 6 foot, 220-pound receiver, so you would think that he's not as fast and he's just a big physical guy that just, possession type of receiver. But he's actually way more faster than what you think he is. He's an underrated route runner. I think that he has I think that his skill set, he could be a pretty good route runner. It's just that you don't see it as much at UCF. But I saw some little things here or there that showed me that he could probably separate. Good body control. Like I said, when it comes to certain catches that he made, He knew how to block out corners. He knew how to get his body in position or where he needed to catch the football and make those big plays. Good hands, loves to be physical, especially after the catch. And like I said, when it came to those certain situations where they threw him screen routes or a hitch route and he needed to get that first down, he was big, tough, and physical, and he was able to knock guys down and just bowl them over and reach the ball out and get that first down when UCF needed it. So next we're going to talk about is a receiver that's consensusly has been like the 4th rated receiver on most people's boards. And that is Rashad Bateman from Minnesota. Now, when I watched Rashad Bateman last year, his tape last year, he was a really good receiver. I mean, I loved it. This year it wasn't as good, but then I found out that he actually had an injury, and that's why he wasn't as good. And actually, I think he also was dealing with a little bit of COVID before the season had started. So I think that's the biggest reason why he didn't have as great of a season, or just looking at him, he just didn't look as good as he did the year before. But he's one of those guys, he reminded me a little bit of Michael Thomas. There was a lot of slant routes that he ran, and I mean, he could run routes and really separate and hit those slant routes and just keep going, and he could make big plays like that. He could have the occasional drop here or there, but everything about him, when it came to his route running, when it came to his hands, when it came to the yards after the catch ability, when it came to body control, when it came to tracking the football, you know, there was a lot of great things that came from him as a wide receiver. No, he's not as explosive as like the Rondale Moore or what we've seen with JaMarr or Devontae or Jalen Waddle, but he brings something to the table that we've seen in the NFL before, and it could be really, really good when he gets drafted for an NFL team. And I'm going to be honest with you, he could possibly be the best receiver to come out this draft if he turns out what I think he could be. Next, we're going to talk about, I'm going to skip something. We're going to talk about Kadarius Toney. I actually didn't write his name down in my sheets, in my notes. But Kadarius Toney from Florida, here's the thing. He's a guy that can be a great route runner. And you've seen him, or people talk about him being a really good route runner. And I've seen it before. I've seen the route running type of skills that he has. He has the occasional drop, and the occasional drop is just alarming a little bit, because the occasional drop is not just occasional. You see it a lot more often than when you don't see it. He's a yards after the catch demon. He reminds me a lot of Percy Harvin. And there was another receiver that came out recently that I believe played for Florida that was similar as well. And I can't think of his name, but he's a guy that is one of those true gadget type of players. Will probably work really, really well in like a Kansas City offense where you got the McCole Harmons and Tyreek Hill and all these guys. You know, being able to use them on jet sweeps and end arounds, and then using them in situations of just doing a go route or a post route and screens and stuff like that. He's one of those guys that could really be a solid receiver in this league. The question is that when it comes to the drops, can he get over being a dropper? Can he get better at catching the football and making the plays that you know he can make? Not to say he was just dropping a bunch of footballs, but it was alarming and it was concerning, because you want him to be a guy that catch the football more consistently, just because what you know he can do with the ball is in his hands. Now, the next guy I want to talk about is the LSU receiver, the other one, Terrace Marshall Jr. I love this receiver. Hands catcher. Like, right now, he's a hands catcher. And he's probably the best hands catcher in this draft besides his teammate, JaMarr Chase. Snatches the ball out the air. Good route runner. You can see the body control. You can see the speed that he has. I believe he did run track in high school. So you know that there's that type of training that track guys have. You can see that speed on the football field. He knows how to find the soft zone in the soft spot in zone coverage. And he can track the ball really, really well. This is a guy that I think that is very underrated. He's not getting talked about as much, but he's a guy that I definitely think will get drafted within the first round. I think he has so many tools that if he was in a different draft, if you didn't have Devontae Smith, if you didn't have JaMarr Chase, he would be probably one of the top 3 receivers in this draft. And also, with his situation, he had to be the guy, which he showed he could be the guy, but he didn't have the quarterback to be the guy. There was a lot of games where the ball just didn't get where it needed to get, and he made the best of what he could do. But I think that he's one of those players that will definitely turn out to be a better pro than what his numbers may suggest while he was in college. The biggest thing, though, that was great about him is that he's a touchdown maker. And in the red zone, big threat in the red zone. He can be a huge touchdown getter in the NFL. Next guy we're going to talk about is just, we're going to get into Tylan Wallace. Big catch radius. I really liked him because he was a high point catcher. He could stack, he could beat press, and he was a willing blocker. He's one of those guys that I think that he won't go in the opening round of the draft, right? Because of whatever reason. I mean, to me, he's got a lot of things that he's really, really good at that honestly should make him one of the better receivers in this draft. But the receiving class is so good that he's a guy that will drop into the second. If you're a team in the second round and you didn't get your wide receiver in the first, getting Tylan Wallace in the second round or maybe even third round, depending on how guys come off the board, this is a guy that's going to be really, really good for a team. And honestly, looking at him, I don't think he's no more than just a number 2 receiver, but he shows traits that you pair him up with another guy that's like a really good number 2 receiver, you can have a really, really good offense. Another guy we're going to talk about is Amon-Ra St. Brown, USC receiver, hands catcher, drop some easy passes here or there. Just real quick, I've been watching Amon-Ra St. Brown since for about 3 years now. His brother Equininius, I keep messing that name up, Equininius St. Brown came out in the draft back in 2018. And then his other brother, Osiris St. Brown, I believe he was supposed to come out this year. I'm not even sure if he is. Maybe he's waiting until next year. Who knows? He plays at Stanford. But those 3 guys, those 3 brothers, they are like the football version of the Ball family. Like, the oldest one is good enough to be in the NFL and is pretty solid. Like, what's his name? Lonzo. The middle one, Jello Ball, Jamel, whatever his name is, he's just like the middle child for the St. Brown family, where he's okay, he's not that great. Is probably more of just a regular run-the-mill receiver, while the youngest one has all the talent, just like LaMelo, who has pretty much all the talent with the family. Amon-Ra St. Brown is probably the most talented of these guys. He won't get drafted in the first round, and he probably won't see the second round, but he will not make it out of the third round. I can tell you that. He attacks the football. He's an excellent route runner, and he is a run-blocking specialist. Teams like the Baltimore Ravens will actually probably benefit for having a guy like him when it comes to his run blocking skills, and maybe even a team like the Tennessee Titans, who, with their running game with Derrick Henry, will really benefit from a guy like him. So I think that he's a really, really good receiver, and I will put him up there as one of the top guys. Now, I'm gonna just name some guys. I'm gonna just name them off. I watched a little bit of Anthony Schwartz from Iowa, from Auburn. Speed, can stack. Limited from having a bad quarterback. He was a solid guy. I think that he could possibly be better than what he was at Auburn, but he more just seemed like just kind of a deep threat speed guy more than anything. Daz Newsome, the other North Carolina receiver, yak slot type of receiver, really good hands. Not much else there, but it's something that, you pick him in the 4th, 5th round, you may get a guy that can develop into something and become really good for a team. All these guys have potential to be great. That doesn't mean all of them are going to be, but all these guys have potential to actually be something within the NFL. Des Fitzpatrick, the other Louisville receiver. He fights for extra yardage. He's a hands catcher, and he's a very solid route runner. I know Ravens fans have been raving about him possibly getting drafted just because he played at Louisville the last year that Lamar was there, and they have some type of connection. And there's other teams that will probably even benefit from a guy like him. He's a big, tall guy that, he's got some underrated skills there. But, overall in his career in college, he hasn't been much. And this year he showed some things, but we don't know what he's going to really be in the NFL. Marquez Stevenson, wide receiver from Houston. He needs work on his route running technique, has the feet and quickness to do it. He just needs to work on being able to come in and out of breaks. Sometimes he rounds his stuff off and he doesn't really stab, which is basically just kind of put his foot in the ground and change directions. But he's a speed demon. That's one thing you can count on him, is that he's going to get down the football field, and he's got good yards after the catch when it comes to his speed. He's a deep threat guy, and he's a guy that you can take a slant and take it 80 yards to the house. Really, really good speed right there. Last guy we're going to talk about is the other Auburn receiver, Seth Williams. I just wanted to name him. Not a guy that I'm really a fan of. He can't run block, but he is a big red zone threat. So there's something there where, you put him out there in the red zone and he could make some plays here or there, but he's not going to be an every down receiver just because he's not a great run blocker. He needs to get better at being a run blocker, or just put some effort into it. Just show that you want to actually play football. When you show that you don't want to run block as a receiver, you show you don't want to play football. Unless you're freaking Devontae Smith and, JaMarr Chase and all those guys who's just athletically gifted and is going to make big plays, and you don't run block, that's, it is what it is. You're going to make those big plays as a receiver. But with Seth Williams, you're not that guy. You need to run block. You're not the guy that you just sit there and just say, well, I'm good anyway. No, you need to show that you want to play football. So it is what it is. But anyway, that was the list for the top wide receiver prospects of the 2021 draft. I thank anybody for watching. Goodbye. Thank you once again for tuning in to In the Clutch. Once again, my name is Draft Raw, and if you want to see more videos from me, then you can subscribe to my YouTube channel at Draft Raw. And if you want to hear more from me, then you can follow me on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram at the same name, Draft Raw. Once again, thank you. I'll see you next time.